Booker of the Year. And the nominees are
You chuckled. And I know why.
Tony Khan.
Uh,
And you call him a Booker. HBK. Papa Paul, Triple H. And Scott D'Amore. Now, I think after we got out of one of those, we got through into the actual real nominees. But
wow. All right. I know this is going to be some fans out there might be interesting to see how they feel.
well, do we want to give our predictions before we announce the winner here? I feel like it might be unanimous, but just because I wonder, I'm curious if Anthony's got a case for Scott.
I don't know, that announcement of TNA returning. I think I feel like that was the icing on the cake, and to see how the internet wrestling community uproared for that moment. I don't know. I feel like Scott D'Amore is in the fight. I don't know if he made it this year. I would like for him to make it, but I think next year y'all got to put Scott D'Amore's name up there. You got to put some respect on his name.
All three of y'all.
Yeah, the only knock I have on Scott is I feel like, especially in the back half of 23, that Impact lacked kind of story. Like it was a little storyless.
Going back to that, I think it was all because of, and I think we talked about this before live on stream before, is that they were preparing for TNA and kind of the production changeover. So I got to give it to you there. They lacked after Bound for Glory. They lacked a lot.
When you're finishing up on one job and you're heading to another, so you just kind of mail it in for the last couple months.
You just coasted.
I do have some funny halfway nominees of Corey saying Brett Lauderdale. No,
he was honorable mention. He was considered.
No, Billy Corgan.
No, he fucked.
But now I'll ask on a side question: would you rather take a Canadian Destroyer from Scott D'Amore, a pedigree from Triple H, a super kick from HBK, or a sloppy ass Stone Cold Stunner from Tony Khan?
Why does Khan get the stunner?
I don't know, because that's the only move I think I've ever seen him fucking hit in a fan video or anything. I don't know, the slap.
I just don't know.
The NDA.
Right. The NDA upside that. Seriously? I mean, for nostalgia purposes, I'll take a pedigree.
I think I would take a Sweet Chin Music.
There you go.
I'm torn between the pedigree and the Sweet Chin Music here.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like I'm right there with you. I'd more take the pedigree. Granted, I'd be fucking fearing for my life. I can't put my hands anywhere.
Well, speaking of fearing for your life, let's get to the winner.
Oh, I figured I was the one announcing this. 100% Triple H wins. It's all about the game and how you play it. 100%. This man, it's so funny because in 2023, we've gone from Vince McMahon in control of WWE to WWE's been sold, and now it's owned by under the umbrella of TKO with Endeavor, and now Triple H is in charge of every bit of creative when it comes to WWE. So DX, how fitting was it, like what, 10 years ago, where DX is spray painting the side of Titan Towers and saying we run the place, and now that's fitting. That's apropos.
That's actually what is happening.
Right.
No, it's crazy. But yeah, Trips, I mean, the list of accomplishments since around Mania on have been outstanding. And I think the cherry on top of this whole dessert is the fact that he made amends. He did the one thing that Tony Khan and the Bucks could not do, is he made amends with CM Punk for the betterment of business, and it worked out very well for him.
He made Hell Freeze over with bringing in CM Punk.
And I like Triple H's version of the I Have a Dream speech, because he said, and I quote, if I can change in 10 years, if no one can change in 10 years, there's a problem. But if 10 years goes by and someone changes, then we can move forward. That was his
Mhm.
version of the I Have a Dream speech. So just saying.
I like it. I like what he's doing. We talk about the heater that WWE's on right now. The first 3 months of 2024, they're cooking. And I can't imagine we're going to be disappointed. We've had a lot of surprises. We're seeing talent that Vince refused to use get booked and be prominent. They're not all home runs. They're not all grand slams. I know people want perfection, but I think, pay-per-view after pay-per-view after show, everything's improving in WWE.
Just popped me. JD from NY must be having a brain aneurysm. Yes. 100%. Well, and this is what we as pro wrestling fans have wanted for the longest time is Triple H in charge of creative. We saw what he could do with NXT when it was the black and gold. We had your Adam Coles. We had Hunter Luther King. I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad someone said it.
Right.
But we saw what Triple H could do with NXT Black and Gold, and now he's got main event money and main event talent to do it with. The world is your oyster, WWE.
Yeah. And then Anthony made a good case with what TNA is doing. For those who think that TK should be considered Booker of the Year, I really don't. And maybe 2 years ago we could debate it. I think Tony has fallen off. His booking's been sporadic. And actually, the best thing that I think AEW's done of the last little bit is a lack of booking. Is just we'll put a tournament together and y'all face each other, and I don't have to really think or do anything. I don't have to fuck this up. So, I think at the end of the day, he's trying, but he's not great at it.
I mean, if you put all three of those companies right now on type of like a pedal store or something, you would say for Impact you got TNA coming back in 2024. For WWE you have from Royal Rumble at least all the way to Backlash in France secured. And then you'll say AEW and you're like, what do they have? They have the Masked Man that could or could not be revealed on Saturday. You don't really have anything to say about them going into 2024.
No. What happens after the Continental Classic?
Right.
Does Tony Khan even take the bronze in this category, respectfully?
Maybe
Because
not.
I even saw, I know you clicked on it there, of saying Sami Callihan for Wrestling Revolver.
Shout out.
Very much almost should be considered here. Like,
Right.
I almost think that your allegedly second best promotion in the United States, top booker isn't even top 3, top 4, even almost debatable.
Do you think that Tony Khan gets dinged as far as how we evaluate him because he does have more resources, more talent? You have all of that, and this is what you're accomplishing, opposed to like a Scott D'Amore, smaller budget, arguably not the same level, or at least the immense amount of talent. But look what Scott's doing as far as creating a buzz and excitement. Look what Sami Callahan's doing, or a Brett, who's taking low budgets and blowing it up, and he's taking a big budget and minimizing things.
I agree with that, and I also think to me, Tony Khan's the Bill Belichick to an extent of when it comes to this pro wrestling thing because he's also the GM. He's also the one who buys the fucking groceries. He owns the company. He writes the stories. He's everything. So it's ultimately gonna fall on his head. However you feel about it, it falls on his head. And that's the biggest, black mark in his book.
I think the biggest downfall for Tony Khan, and I hate to be so negative a lot of the times, but I think it's just the way he comes off. Like, especially coming towards the latter part of the year, I'm talking September, October, where they had those head-to-head moments with WWE. It was like he was more focused on beating WWE and not really just focusing on what he has in front of him with the great crop of talent that he has. And I really think that's the That's the biggest issue with Tony Khan. Focus on your talent. Scott D'Amore, he focuses on his talent. Triple H focuses on his talent. The only time he might make a joke or a knock on something is at one of those press conferences. He'll say something, everybody chuckles, and he moves on. But it seems like Tony Khan's job is just to kind of go out there and like, hey, we're better than WWE, and we're going to show you why. But then he fails to do so. You know, and I think he just needs to kind of knuckle down and focus on what he has in front of him, which is potentially one of the greatest rosters in wrestling today. And you just got
certainly one of the biggest.
Yeah, and one of the biggest. And you just got to knuckle down and pay attention to that.
Yeah,
stay in your lane.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the CM Punk situation will be a forever black eye until they kind of course correct. That's a fumble on the the 90-yard line. You had Punk and you couldn't make it work, and that's unfortunate.
Now, respectfully, and I know we're doing the award show and everything, but I do want to have people's opinions on this real quick. Well, because Eric Bischoff of all people, and I know I've compared AEW to WCW, said AEW is TNA, like Dixie Carter, Vince Russo, TNA, right now. Yeah. Agree or disagree? I'll ask.
I kind of agree.
I'm kind of indifferent.
I'm testing your loyalty here.
I kind of indifferent because I feel like Eric Bischoff actually had a hand of TNA's actual downfall.
Well, he was there, so he can say
anything coming from him.
I'm
like, I know he was there, but it was like TNA was doing fine before you walked on the scene.
Was it really? Any company that has to go to Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan and everything, are you doing fine, or are you just acting like you're doing fine?
Now, this could be my lack of knowledge, because I'll admit sometimes I just don't have the knowledge. Was it TNA that knocked on Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff's door, or was it Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff that wanted to come to TNA?
Fair enough. I cannot confirm neither way, so fair enough.
Because they were kind of washed in WWE. You can even put Ric Flair in there as well, because he had his retirement match and then went on to TNA. So
yeah, I think the fair comparable there, in the sense of, you had, Dixie with all the money and we got Tony with all the money, and they started just scooping up like Hogan well after his prime. Nash was there. They started bringing in all these people that didn't really help move the needle, but they were names. And then they were, let's go to Mondays. Oops, that was a mistake. It was a lot of miscalculation and focusing on how do we get to be like the WWE instead of how do we stay different than the WWE?
Mm-hmm.
It's spending your parents' money, and it's still one of those of not how do we be AEW, it's how do we go against WWE, like you just said there. 100%. You didn't find your identity. Your identity was trying to go at your competitor.
Facts.
Exactly. I think that's where AEW is struggling now, because they came out as the alternative, but now they're trying to turn themselves into WWE. And even though that's been said in the past with other companies like WCW and TNA, it's just like you need to stick to what you came out with, and that's being the alternative in wrestling.
I agree.
Stay with what brought you to the dance.
Right.
Stay with the girl who brought you to the dance.
That's it. 2-step this way, my friend.